Hello and welcome back to Bourbon Barrel Talk. I'm your host, Scott Minton. While our conversations focus mostly on our favorite spirits, please remember that having a solid financial plan can help you avoid feeling as though the volatile stock and bond markets are driving you to drink. Yes, today's episode of Bourbon Barrel Talk is brought to you by Axiom Financial Strategies Group, which is a financial planning-based wealth management firm that serves to maintain our clients' paths to financial success, happiness, and overall well-being. Axiom's mission is to help individuals and families of all size grow and protect their wealth through an objective, thoughtful advice anchored in deep subject matter expertise. If you have a financial plan but are lacking confidence that you will achieve your goals or would like assistance in developing a financial plan, please reach out to the Axiom team at 812-913-7701 or email them at contactus@axiomfsg.com. Please remember to drink and invest responsibly. Axiom Financial Strategies Group, LLC, is a registered investment advisor. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where Axiom and its representatives are properly licensed and exempt from licensure. Today, we are back in the Brock Bourbon Bar with the Brock family. How are y'all doing?
Doing well.
Doing awesome.
And then we have a special guest with us, Mr. Vaughan Scott with Axiom Financial Strategies Group. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Man, that's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
Man, I tell you. So, first of all, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
Good deal, good deal. And Vaughan and his company is going to be sponsoring our month of December and what we're going to call Festivus and airing of the grievances. So we're going to do a 6-part series where we're going to talk about stuff that we really don't like about bourbon, which is kind of anti-bourbon for a bourbon podcast, but hey, we thought we were going to jump outside the box a little bit. But today we're going to talk about a couple of fantastic pours that we have here. We're going to review those, and then we're going to find out a little bit about who you are, what you do, so that way the fans kind of know what's going on. Fair enough?
Right. Yeah. Thanks for having me again.
No
problem.
problem.
Thanks for having me in your home.
Absolutely. Not
Anytime.
a problem.
Yeah, the Brocks are super, super awesome. They let me use their space. My house is under construction right now. But I'm almost done. I'm down to the last bathroom, so we're in good shape. So anyway, first of all, we have a Bardstown Bourbon Company, Chateau de Laubade, or Laubade. I don't know.
Laubade, but who's...
Laubade, there we go. Yeah, French stuff. And this is batch number 2. So this one was released, probably about 4 months ago? Does that sound about right to you, Nick?
I believe so, yes.
And what's the proof on that bad boy?
We're coming in at 107.
107. And does it tell what the blend numbers are? Like what kind of whiskeys was on the side there?
No, outside of it being a collaborative series, it doesn't not have the normal breakdown you get with the Fusion or the others.
Discovery, yeah. Okay, I couldn't remember on that bottle. It's been a couple of months since I looked at it, so I'll tell you what. The one thing I do love about BBC though is the design that they and the time and the care that they put into their bottles.
Absolutely. I know they've had a couple other great collaborations with Founders. I think they did that one.
Yep.
And it's always interesting for me because I know that they do a lot of their own contract distilling down there at Bardstown.
Right.
And I'm wondering if, sometimes if they taste something that really hits, they might just kind of keep that recipe in their back pocket for being able to do something a little bit later.
So I think the contract distilling that they're doing is pretty much 2 or 3 different mash bills. That's it. Like they don't offer a wide variety of mash bills from what I understood, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, we recently at another one of the Bourbon Society's meetings, we had them come over, and they said they have done up to 50 different mash bills.
Really?
In their contract distilling.
That's crazy. I guess that's probably true. There's probably, because of the sheer amount of brands that are basically being introduced because of their contract distilling, they probably wanted a unique mash bill in that situation. But I thought that the bulk of the stuff that they made was I want to say it was 70-20-10 or something like that.
I think some of their own personal stuff is.
Right.
Yes, you're spot on with that. They only keep to a couple of different mash bills, but for the ones that they do the contract for, they did say that they've done up to 50 different types of mash bills.
So who'd you have out here? Danny Bardstown?
I want to say his name is Matt or Mark. I can't remember what it was, but he's the master taster out there right now.
Gotcha. All right. Well, cool.
He's a nice country boy. He was very informative and very talkative out there whenever they came.
And for those people who don't know what the Chateau is, it's finished in an Armagnac cask, right, Vaughan?
It is. And I was just reading the fine print on the label. It says that it's a blend of a 12-year Kentucky bourbon with a 10-year Tennessee bourbon, finished in Chateau de Laubade Armagnac casks for 16 months.
Some old Armagnac. For how long?
16 months.
16 months.
That's pretty long.
That is a long time.
Because usually you go between that 3 and 12-month range that usually is for the finishing.
So what are we getting on this, Barbara? You've been sniffing for a while, so I gotta believe you got a good nose on this thing.
I'm getting some licorice and toffee.
I could get the licorice, that anise, yeah.
And I'm getting a little toffee.
Yeah. I'm getting, I don't know if it's a toffee as much as for me is it's just another sweet note. I'm thinking I'm getting more of like a soft caramel.
I was getting a little bit of kind of like almost a stone fruit, apricot.
Yeah.
A little smell. At least that's what I'm equating that sweetness to.
Yeah. There's definitely some fruit to it.
Yeah, definitely fruit. But that licorice and toffee for me are just pulling straight out.
It's got a little bit of an alcohol to it. And I'm sure that's coming from the Armagnac, but I'm trying to put a pinpoint on that one.
Pretty decent legs on it too.
Yeah, it's got great legs. It's got a lot. All right, the initial pull. Ooh, man, I keep forgetting how good these things are. So a little bit of leather, got some caramel.
A little light tobacco.
Yeah, light tobacco. Yep. Almost like more like the old, like Red Man Chew type tobacco. Not like a smoker's tobacco, but more like chewing tobacco. A little bit of cherry, though. It's almost like the apricot goes away and it comes in almost like cherry.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
do you
That
think?
sweetness kind of changes over. But
Yeah.
I think it stays in that stone fruit.
What you got, Vaughan? Anything?
I definitely had that apricot smell, but the cherry flavor for sure.
Yeah. I like that tobacco coming through.
I'm still lost.
You're still lost? Not surprised.
I think this is her first pull of the day, so I think she's trying to get herself antiquated again.
Well, she's got plenty there to get pulled on, so there's John with the liberal pour. There's plenty there to pull off
Even
of.
more so than I'm usually at.
I know. That would, yeah. So Vaughan, tell us a little bit more about what you do and why you do it. I know you're like me. You were a former banker, and now you kind of moved into a different realm.
Yeah, essentially, we have our own independent registered investment advisory firm now, based in New Albany. So, actually, had worked for 3 of the 4 largest financial institutions in the world previously, and had the opportunity to go independent, which we were thrilled to do. So we do basic wealth management, financial planning for folks, and really, I think the most rewarding part of what we do and the why is really seeing the ability to have a positive impact on people's lives. I mean, we've seen people be able to send their kids to college. We've seen the kids then come back and become clients. I mean, it's really, having done this for over 20 years now, it's really nice to see the full, circle of life. Unfortunately, you shed a lot of tears together too when you lose people, but it's really, to me, it's much more about, how can we help people really live better lives and most importantly, be able to enjoy the time that they have together.
So I think that's why you love bourbon so much. You can equate the same thing, right? You when you drink a good bourbon, it's something you love, and to me, I tie bourbon to memories all the time. Like we talk about this on the show a lot, where when I drink something, I'm like, and Barbara's the best at it. She's always got some analogy about her grandma's apples or her pappy's, tobacco pipe or some kind of, I don't know if you even talked about that before, but somebody has. I don't remember who it was, but anyway, like that's what I do. I tie to memories. And funny thing is, like I always talk about the fact, like when I was a kid, I could remember, and like sometimes I taste leather and I'm like, it tastes like a baseball glove to me. And people are like, that's crazy. It tastes, you used to chew on your glove. I'm like, yeah, every kid in the outfield used to chew on their baseball glove, right? No.
That's all you had to do in the outfield
right.
back then,
I was a short fat kid, right? In the right field, I chewing on a glove.
Mm-hmm. Either that or tossing it up in the air.
There you go. 100%.
Yeah, it's interesting in our business. A lot of people think that it's, especially when people have a lot of resources, they think that it's all about the money. And I remind people all the time that I've never seen a Brinks truck following a hearse, but people follow hearses.
Yep.
And so I think the measure of a person's life is really how many relationships do they enhance along the way.
Yep.
The ability to do that with additional financial resources just changes, some of the capacity or some of the ways that you can do that. But at the end of the day, it's really about the personal relationships that we have and enhancing those. And fortunately, I think we are good about reminding our clients of that and encouraging them, instead of taking it with them, why don't you spend it with the family and do things that are meaningful?
Yeah, 100%. That makes 100% the truth and a good information to give to your clients and things to that nature. I know whenever I'm talking with, because I do a lot of commercial lending and things to that nature, it goes down to the fact that I tell people, that it's great to invest and it's great to continue to invest, but you also have to enjoy it. Like you said, you can't take it with you. So, but it is what it is. So
Definitely a balance.
for sure, 100%. So what got you started into bourbon?
Well, my first experience with bourbon, I was underage drinking out of my mother's liquor cabinet, and she had a Maker's Mark bottle that started out, as really good.
100% Makers?
100% Makers. And by
Became
the time I
30%
graduated
Makers?
high school, it was not 100% Makers anymore. So that was my first introduction to it. And then one of my first memories of bourbon was actually Four Roses at the bus stop. So I mentioned, I grew
Four
up in Old
Roses at
Louisville.
the bus stop?
Four Roses at the bus stop. On a really good night, the winos would get a pint of Four Roses. So back in the day, you could get a pint of Four Roses
Right.
that was just essentially low budget, rot gut before the Japanese bought it, took it to Japan, and didn't sell it here for 20 years and reintroduced it as a premium brand.
Right.
So those were my first experiences. But then as an adult, really enjoyed it. Really enjoy a good old fashioned, which I understand Barb's a great old. So I'm gonna have to try one of those before I get out of here.
There you go.
And so enjoyed old fashions, and then as bourbon became more popular, I got interested, and I had some good friends from high school. Have some good friends from high school. We do all kinds of stuff together. So we were getting together, and I had a decent collection, but I didn't really have anything that I thought would be fun and interesting. So I went over and saw Amon and picked up a few bottles at his place when he still had was it Red Castle?
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
yep.
Went and picked up a few bottles there, and it sort of grew from there.
Right. Now, you don't know the rules, so we put a couple of drops of water in here. There's a dropper there, but I saw you guys dive in with the water. So what are we getting after we add a little bit of water on this? Barbara's finally got an opinion. All right, we're glad she came to the show.
Okay, before I get to the water, okay,
Be nice now, remember.
I am being nice.
Okay.
Thank you. It took me a long time to pinpoint what it was I was tasting.
All right.
I mean, again, like I said, I got that licorice and that toffee and that stone fruit. But on the taste, I was getting a lot of cloves, but then English breakfast tea.
Really? Like an Earl Grey English?
No. English breakfast tea.
Gotcha.
They're different.
She didn't say Earl Grey.
I equate those as being very similar. I'm not the tea snob that Barbara is, but to me, Earl Grey and English, they're very similar in I guess the taste, sort of, but not the same. It's almost like a flavor profile, not necessarily the actual taste. But I see where you're coming from saying that, though.
It's the difference between a regular Four Roses and a Four Roses small batch.
Yeah.
They're very similar, yes, but there's definitely a huge difference when you really get to diving into it.
You probably have a lot more of those fancy teas that go in the little balls, and then you soak them and all that type of stuff. The whole grain, whole leaf stuff,
Yes.
right?
Oh, yeah, she likes that.
I drink it out of a tea bag, so
Straight from London, thank you very much.
straight from London. Oh, see, fancy schmancy, up here.
She had to bring some stuff back last time we went, in 2017? Yeah.
So, but yeah, some old fancy schmancy stuff.
Now afterwards,
All right, afterwards with
on
water.
the nose,
Yep.
all of a sudden, all I'm getting is fruit.
Yeah,
I don't
get a lot
get
of fruit.
absolutely nothing.
I think that's
but
coming from the
fruit.
Armagnac. I think it's really pulling off the nose for that. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit more. I think honestly, more cherries coming through, and I get a little bit of like grape or like.
I was interpreting it a little bit as almost like a Whopper. Like whenever you open up the Whoppers, you get a little bit of milk chocolate.
Oh, like that chocolate malt smell.
The chocolate malt smell.
I could say that.
Because I was like going, whoa.
Yeah, I get that a lot more on my left nostril than on my right. I'm getting more fruit on the right. So
on the nose, it's all fruit for me. I'm not getting anything else. On the taste, though, I am getting where Nick is coming with the Whopper, but I'm also getting like a plum almost.
Yeah, there's like a little bit of a red fruit flavor at the
it's more of a
aftertaste.
plum than like an apricot.
dark fruit.
Yeah, dark than I do on that nose. That nose, I'm still getting more like apricot light.
On the bridge of my nose, it's weird. It's almost it changes the depth of the nose.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
I'm trying to figure out what that is. It's weird. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's good. I'm really enjoying this. It's not batch one. I don't know if you guys have had batch one or not, but it's not batch one. It's
No.
pretty daggone good, but it's not batch 1.
The only other thing I might get out a little bit is just kind of like a really light hint of wood or seasoned wood out of it. I can't really pinpoint, if it's what particular wood it is, but I just get that just a really light note, like in the nose.
Let's dive into this Starlight Amburana cask. This one's one, it's going to blow your mind, Vaughan, I promise you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to prepare for this. I gotta rinse it.
You got to cleanse the palate a little bit. You want some water, Vaughan?
Yeah, please, if you don't mind. Thank you.
But this one's like I said, it's one of the most unique pours I've had over the last 4 or 5 years, and mainly because it's just there's so much spice typically to these things. And I haven't even tried this one or smelled this one yet, but what I've gotten off of most of the ones that I've drank has been a ton of like cinnamon, some cardamom, like apple pie baking spices, very reminiscent. And once you get into like the mid palate and stuff like that, you get I get a lot of snickerdoodle, some cookie dough like type stuff. But I don't know. We'll smell and dive in. Barb's already over there.
A sugar cookie.
Yeah,
I mean, it really does smell like a sugar cookie.
Yeah, it's really amazing. What is it about? I'll say about 6 months. 7 months ago, Scott was very beneficial in bringing us samples because I had been looking for a cigar batch, either whether it be the one that Rise or one of the regular bourbons, for about 4 to 5 months. They were going for like $200, $300 on secondary. It was really silly on how much they were going out for. And this actual bottle that you're tasting was one of the first ones I got at the Easter egg hunt that Starlight put on.
April Fool's Day bottle.
It
4-1.
Yeah.
4.5-year-old, 113.8 proof. But dude, I mean, like I've already started smelling this one. Like almost everything that I said without even smelling it, like it's cinnamon, a little bit of that dough cookie.
No, you're right. It's snickerdoodle. It's not a sugar cookie. It's a snickerdoodle.
Yeah, because
it's got that spice.
It does.
That spice of that
sure.
cinnamon into it.
And there's
Some
a
of those
lot of
baking
people
spices
that don't know what a snickerdoodle is around.
No, I've figured that out, and I'm like,
We've had some people over to sample some of these cigar batches before, and we're like going, all right, smell it, taste it, tell us what you think about it. And then we're like going, to us, it's like a snickerdoodle. And they go, what's a snickerdoodle?
Yeah. So I'm a nerd in that situation because I ran the cookie companies for so long, right out of high school while I was, putting the wife through college and learning myself up a little bit. But so I know what a snickerdoodle is because I made a billion of them. But man, I tell you what, the nose on these things are just so unique, man.
Yeah,
so unique.
It's really.
I was very happy on this batch that I was able to get because it hit all the main points that I had known about the bottle and tasted priorly with a prior podcast on here.
Yeah. It's got good legs too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
So what are you getting on this one, Nick? Have you already taken a pull?
Oh, I've already taken a pull.
All right. What do you got while I take a little sip? Oh, sure. Go and take a drink after I ask you what you think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like going, you get that great mouthfeel that it's hard to describe what a mouthfeel is to people who've never dealt with it before, but it's that viscosity that it lingers. It just stays in your mouth and it lingers for a long time, and you get that really nice. You still get that cinnamon flavor that kind of, and it's not like like the pure cinnamon. It's like the baking cinnamon.
Yeah,
it's very light. It mixes with that cinnamon sugar just a little bit, and so
what's that fancy cinnamon? It's is it like Mexican cinnamon or is it like?
I know what you're talking about. I don't know.
It's an exotic cinnamon, but I'm trying to think of exactly where it's from. But like my wife has some in the spice cabinet. But yeah, it's like that type of cinnamon. It's not like your typical.
It's not like your typical go get your bottom dollar cinnamon pour stuff.
Yeah, it's not your Kroger cinnamon.
Yeah, exactly. But it just lingers, and then at the very end of that palate, you just kind of get a little of that tobacco that just kind of sits there on that back.
Tobacco, a little bit of cardamom. I almost equate it all to like apple pie spice, like cardamom, ginger, cinnamon, all
Nutmeg.
those type of things. Nutmeg, yes. Mm-hmm. I kind of get that drop in that flavor on that.
a little bit of cloves.
A little bit of clove.
That's
100%.
where a little bit of that spice is as well.
That's where I think some of the tobacco is coming from too. Kind of reminds
Agreed.
you of those old school DeJoram cigarettes. You remember those? Did you ever smoke any of those?
No, huh?
No? You don't know what I'm talking about?
What were they?
They're like clove cigarettes. They were the black cigarettes. Like,
Oh yeah, I'm sure I smoked them at some
you
point.
probably smoked some at some time. All right. I was like, come on, man. I know you've been to enough parties. I know you've probably at least had
No.
had
Once
to
you
take a draw or two off one
clarified,
of those
yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
kinda
wasn't
hard.
talking about like the illegal stuff. I'm talking
Yeah,
about like the little black cigarettes, that like real long and come in the long skinny boxes.
Now, I don't know if you've had it before, but I recently got Barbara into cigars, and she is now a cigar smoker.
She's drinking the acid blondie number
Yes.
ones or something, probably.
No, it was the blondies, and they match up amazing.
I bet
with
they do.
this
I bet they go
because-
really well.
because those acid blondies are very sweet
Right.
and just kind of lingers that sweetness on the lips. And when you pair it with this, it's amazing.
So, Vaughan,
Absolutely.
you either love this or hate it. What do
Oh,
you
I
think?
love it. I think
do
you know
like
what's interesting to me is, and I'd not had one of these before. It is just how soft it is on your palate.
Oh, it is.
It's weird that when you drink a lot of other whiskeys, it immediately it flows back to the palate. This almost just lays there. I mean, it's really
It's 113 proof too. I mean, you'd never guess it's
no,
113.
not in a million years.
It drinks like 90, 95 proof. So
No, absolutely. I get where you're talking about, where it's really soft on the palate, because there are things that you get that Kentucky hug, you get the little mouth chew, mouth feel, that kind of stings or kind of gives that tingle a little bit. And this does not, especially for that proof of being 113. It just kind of lays there, and it's soft.
I'll tell you what, the Amburana too, and this has been very reminiscent of all of them, even the 100 proof ones and things like that they come out with. Terrific legs on these things. I mean, look at that. I mean, it's hugging the glass, every bit of it, and it takes forever to roll down. So,
And it's definitely spicy.
You
can taste the the spice stays with you, but not in a bad way. I mean, it just
no.
keeps you warm.
But it's different, right? Like, I mean, it's so different from
very
anything
unique.
I've tried in forever. I mean, like I said, I've drank a lot of bourbon. I think when I looked at my notes, it was something like over 1,200 over the last couple of years that I've drank, and it's a dumb number because of the simple number of barrel picks and like interviewing. In literally, sometimes you'll go into a rick house and like master distiller will be like, here, let's go try this, let's try that. And literally you drink 20 barrels before you know, and then you got to stay there 2 hours to somewhat sober up to drive home or whatever. But I mean, it's ridiculous the number of bourbons I've tried over the years. Matter of fact, that's
Add
how
a
I
drop
met.
of water.
Add a drop of water. See, I'm an anti-water guy on this one, but I'm going to do it for science purposes because that's what Barbara said. Blah blah blah.
For science, we're doing this.
We're doing it
Yes.
for science.
Yeah, it's just one drop. I'm not doing any
yeah.
more. It's not worth it. Oh, that's me.
Ting. It's all good. So, Barbara, you told us to add water. Now you explain why you want us to add water.
I'm more intrigued to hear what he tastes different first before I start saying things.
All right. So the nose milds out. You lose a little bit of that chewy, doughy smell.
Wow, it really takes out the cinnamon. Like it takes out the sugar cookie in it. I mean, it really makes it taste like other whiskeys.
For me, the clove starts to really pop on the nose, and you do, and you're absolutely right. It removes that sweet aspect that is contained in the cigar batch. It's like that sugar, cinnamon, snickerdoodle, whatever you want to call it. It just magically kind of disappears. You get a little bit of a rye pop on there.
Yep.
That lingers a little bit.
Yep.
Yep. I still think the cinnamon and some of the like you said, the clovey type stuff comes
Yeah.
through, but you're right. The cookie dough, that sweetness.
That sweetness goes all the
Yeah.
way away.
But we've discussed this 100 times, right? When you add water
Yes.
to anything that's a high rye, whether it's a high rye bourbon or a high rye whiskey, typically the rye really it accentuates the rye, which doesn't make any sense. I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but typically for some strange reason, rye always pops when you add water to it. Very, very seldom does it like completely mellow out that spice that rye brings forward.
right.
Yeah, but it is interesting. Like on the front of it goes away, but then as it lingers, you pick it back up again. It's really
So
fascinating.
on without the water, it hits you really quick and just kind of lingers there, and then
Exactly.
eventually it goes back. Whereas when you add the water, it hits and then it lingers on the way down.
Exactly.
A lot more
Yeah.
of the Kentucky hug, I guess, even though it's an Indiana bourbon.
Well, it's not even necessarily the hug. It's not that burn.
It's a Hoosier
It's-
hug.
It's definitely more of a flavor that you're getting instead of that hug.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, it does bring it goes from your mid palate to your rear palate, and it still stays above the collarbone. It's not like one of those deep, burns you up. I've got some stuff that'll do that to you, but
The Hoosier choker.
the Hoosier choker, wow. So, but definitely a unique pour for sure. So, any neat stories you got for us, Vaughan? Like, what's your favorite bourbon of all time? Let's do some cheap, easy stuff for you. Some nice, easy hitters.
Favorite bourbon of all time.
Yep. Doesn't matter if it's readily available or not. What's your favorite pour you've ever had?
That's a hard question because there are so many different good ones.
Now, you can't cop out on me now. You got to dive in deep here. I'm a GTS fan, so I'm going to go George T. Stagg, and then if you want me to get real specific, I'll say probably like 07 or maybe 2016.
That's pretty specific. Gosh, I would have to say I do have a bottle of the original Laubade.
Yeah,
and I think that's the most unique and most enjoyable pour that I've had.
Gotcha.
It's I think it's because it's so different.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them, I've enjoyed a lot of different bourbons, but that one was to me probably one of the more unique. After having a lot of others,
I love it. It was somebody that's got as a good a collection as you do, and you throw out something that it's worth some money now. But I mean, originally that wasn't a horrible one to find. It's not like the Boss Hogs.
That's true. I've gotten a little obsessive on those.
Yeah. So, which is
my favorite story though, and I think you've heard this story. Is
right.
I bought off the shelf. Now, again, among true bourbon aficionados, this is not as impressive as it is, to most lay people, but I bought off the shelf Pappy Van Winkle 23-year bottle number 11. I paid $139 for it off the shelf.
What year was that?
That would have been in 2003.
Oh, that's old Stitzer Weller juice.
And
oh yeah, definitely.
The only good news in that is that I still have the bottle, even though I drank it all.
Okay.
But I still have the bottle and the bag and the tag.
I'm about to
There you
say that's
Bottle,
just
bag, and tag.
Keeping something that has that bottle number on it is amazing.
Yeah. So that was my one fun story and heartbreak because it'd be a fairly valuable bottle if I still had the juice in it. I think it's probably a fairly valuable bottle just as a bottle.
I mean, it could be. I don't know. I've never looked into that aspect of bourbon, like what's a bottle worth after it's been kind of drank and all that stuff. Because if that's the case, I mean, I would think like some of those like old vintage like Neptune bottles that Old Forester released back in the 50s and 60s and stuff like that, I would think some of those have got to be worth some big money because those things are super, super neat and like they were ahead of their time. And as far as the decanter game goes, I guess would be the best way of putting it.
Sure.
Yeah, some of those decanters that were released during like 60s, 70s, and 80s were wow.
Yeah.
I've seen some of like the Eagle Rare ones where it's the big bald eagle and you just take the head off and you pour.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The very double Eagle Rares. Yeah.
Yep.
Those things are crazy. And then you had some that were actually the actual like ceramic decanters. Is that what the one you're talking about? Okay, I thought you were talking about the crystal bottles. What I thought you were talking about.
No. Not that $20,000 bottle. Okay. You could probably buy that old Eagle Rare ceramic one probably off the shelf for
back in the day
about $50-$60.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Probably way less than that. I mean, most of those are from I think the 70s and 80s. So they're probably $20.
$20. It's amazing.
$15-$20. So crazy. So we had two unique pours. We learned a little bit about Vaughan and learned a little bit about Axiom. And let's rate these bad boys. If we were gonna shoplift it or buy it or whatever you were gonna do with it, which one do you prefer? Which one's the best of the two that you tried today? And did you like it neat or with a drop of water? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
You go first. All right.
Yeah. For me, cigar batch. It was like love at first taste for me. It's always good. And many of the different versions, expressions, there's little change in it. And that's always been enjoyable, that you could always get it and you would pretty much know what it's going to taste like. Now, I'm not going to badmouth any of some of the recent releases that probably aren't as complex, but the standard single barrel bottles.
So are you a cookie dough with no water, or do you want the water?
No water.
No water.
I enjoy that sweetness because if that sweetness pairs with a cigar like no other.
All right, Barb.
It's going to depend on my mood.
Oh God, here we go. I hear a story coming.
But for tonight, I think I'm going to have to go with the Bardstown.
The Chateau. All right.
Mm-hmm. With a drop of water.
With a drop of water. Gotcha. All right. And then the other one. All right, Vaughan.
I got to go hands down the Carl T cigar batch.
You like
no
that?
water.
No water. All right.
Absolutely.
I'm
That's
going to make it 3 out of 4. I'm going to go with the Carl T, the cigar batch, as being my favorite. No water. I want everything neat, though. You all know me. I'm a high proof guy. But definitely, man, there's just something about those. Like you said, Nick, they just hit a little different. It's something unique. And, the funny thing is, I actually, and we didn't get to try one tonight, but the ryes are just the bee's knees. I love those ryes, man. There's just something about how it really, really brings some of those fruit forward notes on that rye and just really, really marries it in really well. So, well, all right. So Vaughan, if folks want to find you, how do they do that?
we're available. You can email us at contact us at axiomfsg, F as in Frank, S as in Sam, G as in go.com, or visit our website. Same address, and phone number is 812-913-7701.
And Axiom is AXIOM, is that correct?
M as in Mary, that's right.
M
Axiom.
as in Mary, yep,
That
Axiom.
is correct.
Good deal. And if you want to
Closely held principle or truth.
okay, that must be some kind of a disclaimer.
No, that's what Axiom means.
What it stands for. Definition.
That's what it stands for. Oh,
Yeah.
well, look at me. I learned something new today.
Definition, there you go.
Personally held, what now?
It is a closely held principle or truth.
A closely held principle or truth. Look at me. I didn't know that. Awesome. I learned something new today.
You got to learn something every day.
That was my one thing.
There you go.
I'm glad you got that in at 8:00 at night or whatever time it is. And it's time to be real. If y'all don't know what be real is, we'll talk about that on another episode. So, but if you want to find Bourbon Barrel Talk, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, the Twitter. You can also email us at bourbonbarreltalk@gmail.com. If you want to find our episodes, you can download them on Spotify, Apple iTunes, any of your other podcast networks. If you find a podcast network that we're not on, let me know. I'll make sure I get it put out there. This is Scott, Barbara, Nick, and Vaughn signing off. Peace out.